So, objectivism, it's really a bold take on what it means to live fully, right? It lays out a systematic philosophy that emphasizes, you know, reason, individualism, and capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a whole worldview, isn't it? It's all about seeing reality as objective and unmanipulated by personal desires.
Exactly. At its core, objectivism asserts that facts are facts, independent of what anyone believes. It's like, um, truth is out there, and our primary way to know it is through reason alone.
Yeah, right. And that ties neatly into its epistemology. They basically say that reason is the only means we have to understand the world. No mysticism or, dodgy shortcuts.
Yeah, it's all very rational, very secular. Now, moving on to ethics, Rand really pushes a radically egoistic moral view. It's kind of saying that every single person is an end in themselves.
So, instead of, say, sacrificing yourself like traditional altruism suggests, you prioritize your own flourishing? I mean, that sounds pretty counterintuitive to a lot of, established moral traditions.
Right, she definitely challenges that idea head on. According to her, altruism is, practically the opposite of living for your own sake. It's like the idea that your life is secondary to others' needs, which she argues is, well, morally bankrupt.
I mean, that's a pretty strong stance. She even goes so far as to say that altruism, by its very nature, is linked to self-sacrifice, and that accepting that is like accepting, a moral ideal that actually leads to death.
Exactly. It's all about this notion of rational egoism. But let's be clear. It's not about being a brash, hedonistic slob. It's a call for purposeful, principled living. Think of it like, forging your own path with rational thought and personal integrity.
Right. So it's about cultivating virtues like rationality, productiveness, pride, and independence. And then there's also justice, giving others what they deserve, not just what they might beg for.
Yes, absolutely. And these virtues, they're not arbitrary. They're a kind of prescription for, creating value and building your life on your terms. It's like you set the stage for your own success.
But, wouldn't some argue that this extreme focus on self-interest will lead to greed or a lack of compassion? How do we reconcile that with the, importance of community?
That's a great point. While critics do accuse Rand of justifying greed, her supporters actually say that true selfishness is productive and respectful. It's about earning your happiness without trampling on others'
Right.
rights.
Yeah. And then in politics, objectivism supports laissez-faire capitalism. It's like Rand believed that the only social system consistent with her morality is one that protects individual rights, especially property rights, rather than redistributing wealth, right?
Exactly. It's this whole notion that government should exist solely to safeguard those rights, leaving individuals free to pursue their own interests without undue interference.
But, let me challenge that a bit. Don't you think that such a system might, in practice, lead to severe inequality? Some folks argue that too much focus on individualism can erode the social fabric.
I get that critique, and it's valid to ask how, such a system balances social welfare. However, objectivism would counter that true moral interactions are voluntary and mutually beneficial, so if inequalities arise from voluntary exchange, they're just the natural result of diverse talents and choices.
Yeah, I see. So, it's kind of like saying that even if some outcomes are less equal, as long as they're achieved without coercion, that's acceptable in this framework?
Right. And that's tightly linked to her critique of altruism. Rather than imposing sacrifices upon individuals, objectivism demands that each person earns their right to live. It's a very individualistic roadmap for how to think about moral decisions.
And that's what really makes it controversial. I mean, clash it with major traditions like Christianity or Confucianism, and you get some pretty intense debates.
Definitely. Rand positions her philosophy as a complete rethinking of morality. It's not just a defense of selfishness in the modern sense, it's a call to fully own your life, your mind, and your happiness.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, her ideas have found traction in, like, parts of libertarian thought, and even in Silicon Valley. Influential figures like Alan Greenspan and Peter Thiel have expressed admiration for her emphasis on innovation and individualism.
Exactly, it's pretty fascinating. You have this philosophy that was born out of personal experience. Rand fled Soviet collectivism, and now it resonates in free market entrepreneurial circles. It's like it's like a philosophy that's both a personal code and a broader political ideology.
Right. It's almost as if objectivism has evolved from being just a moral stance to influencing economic policies and innovation strategies in today's world.
Absolutely. And think about it. Rand's defense of personal achievement and productive self-interest really resonates in an age where disruption and individual innovation are, celebrated much more openly.
That makes sense. But I'm still curious. How do you reconcile the idea of rational egoism with the need for social cooperation? I mean, isn't there a risk of becoming too isolated or, self-involved?
That's a great question. Rand would argue that rational egoism doesn't mean you're isolated. It simply means that your interactions should be voluntary and mutually supportive. The idea is that when each person pursues their own rational self-interest, it naturally leads to productive and fair exchanges.
So, in a way, these mutually beneficial relationships are, seen as the bedrock of societal progress, not a drain on individual liberty.
Exactly. It's like a well-oiled machine where every part functions according to its own right without encroaching on the other's autonomy.
Yeah, right. But I wonder, isn't there a risk of overlooking the emotional or, compassionate aspects of human relations when you focus so much on strict reason and self-interest?
True, there's that concern. But Rand's notion of rationality isn't cold. It's about understanding what truly benefits your life in a meaningful way. Compassion can exist, but not as a duty imposed by some external moral code. Rather, it's a choice made when it aligns with your self-interest and values.
That makes sense, though it's a pretty different take than what, say, traditional religions propose. It must be why it causes so much debate.
Exactly. And that debate is at the core of its controversy. Critics, of course, accuse Rand of justifying, greed or ignoring the communal ties that bind societies together. But her defenders see her as affirming the dignity and potential of the individual.
Yeah, it's truly a clash of philosophical battlegrounds, individualism versus collectivism. And it all comes down to whether you believe individual achievement should be, the primary measure of moral worth.
Right. And Rand's standpoint is that your life, your happiness, and your creative output are the highest values. No one is entitled to demand sacrifice from you, and no moral obligation should override your right to live for your own sake.
I find that both intriguing and a bit concerning. I mean, where do we draw the line between self-interest and societal responsibility? It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a debate that continues today. Objectivism, in that sense, doesn't deny responsibility. It redefines it in terms of rational self-interest rather than obligatory sacrifice. It's like saying, take care of yourself so you can truly contribute to others, instead of forcing selflessness at the cost of your own well-being.
That's a really interesting perspective. It's like walking a tightrope between personal freedom and social cooperation, a challenging but arguably more honest way to live.
Exactly. And that's what makes objectivism such a compelling philosophy for many. It asks us to re-examine our deepest values about life, work, and relationships without the heavy baggage of, centuries-old moral dictates.
It really does. And while we might not agree on everything, it's undeniable that objectivism sparks discussion about, what it means to be truly free in thought and action.